Hello and welcome back to Utah Tech Leads Endorsed Candidates Getting to Know You. Right now we have Yvette Romero with us today. How are you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. So tell us a little bit about yourself and the position you're running for.
Great. So again, my name is Yvette Romero. I am I was born in LA, but I'm a longtime resident of West Valley. I've been here for going on 20 years, graduated from the Granite School District, go Lancers, and I'm now running for a position on the Granite School Board to serve the area that I grew up in.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you've been around for quite a bit. What motivated you to run for your local school board?
Yeah, I've always been involved in the community in various capacities, mostly volunteer, and even in choosing jobs, I've also chosen professions and jobs that allowed me to come back to West Valley and serve. As an example, after I graduated high school at Granger, I came back and I was working as an avid tutor. I came back a second time and was working as a college access advisor, came back a third time and was working as a summer school teacher. And this is a place that I have great investment in. And I love this neighborhood. And so I'm just looking for every opportunity to try to bring my personal experience, my professional experience to really benefit the neighborhood.
So you've been around for quite a while in that district. So tell us a little bit about some of the struggles that you see both on the national stage and on the local stage for the Granite School Board.
Yes. So both national and local, right? It's like we're seeing young people really experiencing challenges with their mental health. In the state of Utah, a sad statistic is that suicide is the leading cause of death among 10 to 17-year-olds. And we're seeing a lot of that in the district. And it's been a hard couple of years. This statistic preceded the pandemic, and the pandemic has made it even clearer that mental health is something that our young people are struggling with. We're also seeing across the board difficulty recruiting and retaining teachers, especially in the areas of special ed. We're also having difficulty with the same issue for paraeducators, who are huge support to teachers, families, and students. And you will also see this happening with substitutes, right? In fact, what led me like I said, I have always been involved in the community, but what catapulted me into this decision was getting a postcard in the mail sometime around late February. And the district was asking folks to work as substitutes. And me being an educator and a social worker, I thought, well, this wouldn't be sent out unless there was a need. And the questions you always ask as a social worker is like, why is this happening? And I thought, what we have in the background are all these issues that I just shared with you. And as someone who has experience in the classroom and someone who has experience in the community serving as a social worker, I think those are going to be critical skills to help us think about how to recover from COVID. It's been a hard year for everybody, teachers, students, and everyone in between.
Absolutely. I think we're going to be recovering for a decade or more from COVID.
Or more. I agree.
It's really, really rough, not just on the actual academic standing, but on the emotional standing of a lot of students as well. I've seen a lot of backsliding, I would say. It's hard when you're not in classrooms with your peers and your teachers kind of consistently and learning those new life skills. So tell us a little bit about why you think you are the right person for this position.
Yes, great question. I think that I'm the right person for this position because I grew up in this neighborhood. I know that my experience mirrors the experience of many other students who live in this neighborhood, who are children of immigrants, second generation born Americans, who have had to navigate their academic experiences independently and with support from families, no doubt, but in a very different way than more of our mainstream students. And I think I bring that. I'm bilingual, so I've been working in the community to address some of the barriers that happen due to linguistic barriers. And I want to be able to bring that. Most of the material that I have put out has been in English and Spanish. I think we all benefit from having more parents engaged in the process. And part of what happens among Spanish-speaking communities or Latina communities is that we don't quite know how to engage. And when we engage, we're not sure how that's going to be, how that's going to go. And I want to be able to build a bridge for a community that I'm very well connected to and that I have personal experiences with. And then I'm an educator. I've been in the classroom. I've seen the challenges of teaching a curriculum while recognizing that your students are struggling. Like how to do that, how to best serve the people that you're trying to teach when you do have a benchmark and you have to teach the material, but seeing the human element and how to incorporate that into a classroom. I get that. And also as a social worker and someone who's been working in community as a mental health provider for about 10 years, I've been serving students, parents, and communities and organizations to help them think about how to address mental health needs, especially for folks who are uninsured, who are victims of crime. And I know the resources in the neighborhood, and I understand what it looks like to take a whole person approach. The mental health, the resources, community, and that's really what helps us build resilience in the face of challenges. And so I think I have those skills and a personal experience to lend that could really be helpful for a district that is a minority majority district.
So one of the super fun questions that only our school board members have to deal with right now is the topic of banned books. So talk to us about where you see I don't want to say parents' rights, but the right of children to be exposed to different kinds of information in different ways versus the protective nature that I think all parents have for their children.
Yeah, and I get that, right? It's like parents want some say over the values that their children learn and the kind of topics and that they're reading about. And what I will say is my feeling is this, and it's not my quote, it comes from the Salt Lake Library, but books are windows and books are mirrors. And we know that kids do best when they have an opportunity to see themselves in content. And how great it is for the other students to be able to have a window into someone else's experience, because all of those experiences happen in the world. And to have exposure to someone else's thinking, someone else's culture, someone else's experience is really beneficial, because in the real world, that's what it is. And how do we do that in a collaborative way with parents? I also want you to know, right, that the majority of the books that folks are talking about that they have concerns of, these are not books that are in the classroom with our core curriculum. These are books that are in libraries where kids have voice and choice and some ability to choose what kind of content they want to read. And so I want you to know that there is a process for vetting the books that are connected to the core curriculum.
Absolutely.
That's
questions that I've been asking pretty consistently of people who are in favor of getting rid of specific kinds of books is, would you prefer them to be taught in the classroom under supervision? Because we can always make that happen, make it a little bit easier for the parents to know exactly what's being taught. But also at the same time, the vast majority of them don't want that taught in the classroom. They don't want to analyze specific pieces of literature because it might be a little bit more critical of their lifestyle or their choices that the parents have made over time.
Yeah. And being an educator and being in communication with other educators, our teachers work really hard to create a space in the classroom where those stories are, again, windows or mirrors for some, and to facilitate meaningful conversation or meaningful exploration of those experiences and topics. So our teachers are equipped to do that, and these books are vetted. So outside of that, right, absolutely, it's up to every parent to when they go to the library to work with their kid on what they feel comfortable with the kid reading and not. That's a personal choice, that's a family choice, and that's the parent's job. However, when we're talking about our school setting, right, it's like this is a space where people have varying lived experiences, varying identities, and all of those have to be brought into the space in a meaningful way, because it matters to the people who are reading them as mirrors or who are experiencing it as a window into someone else's experience.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what a local school board actually does and what members of local school boards do.
So members of local school boards, often the biggest thing they do is look at budgets. How are we going to spend the money that comes to us from the legislature, money that comes to us from land trusts, et cetera? That's where they decide how much are we going to pay our teachers, how many of our paraeducators are we going to hire, how many social workers are going to be hired, how much will they be paid? That's one of the biggest jobs, is budget. Also policy around, right, human resources and all that. And it's up to the schools then to look at what they need, look at who's in their community, and then to make decisions around specific books and curriculum that they will be implementing, but it has to follow the standards set by the state board.
That's fantastic. That's good to know. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. Do you have anything else you might want to share with our audience?
I think what I would want to say is I recognize that we're living in a time, I've had conversations with parents who say to me, the youth of today are so different. That's not how it was when I was there. And I don't understand it and I don't relate to it. And trust me, in my generation, things were different too. And I think what I would say to our audience is that in order to meet the challenges of the time, we're going to have to be open-minded. We're going to have to take an approach that is not just a silo of this is the core curriculum. We're going to have to think of whole person learning, as we always have, but to take a really intentional approach to addressing the mental health needs of kids, doing it at every level, the micro, the meso, the macro. And I think we need somebody who can do that. And I have those skills and those personal experiences, and I want to lend them to the next generation. So I hope folks will come and support in November.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.